Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions2, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions.
Hey you, podcast listener, this is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson, and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, all we are offering is the truth, nothing more.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report After Show. We have with us Thomas Johnson, who is the author of Pursuit of Exhibit 35 in the O.J. Simpson murder trial, and also he's the producer of a documentary called Serpents Rising, an independent investigation of the O.J. Simpson murder trial. And he's the, what is this called? The, oh boy, I don't have my notes in front of me, but how would you describe, what's your title at this Ocean Medical Research Group?
Investigative Team Coordinator.
Investigative Team Coordinator of this Ocean Medical Investigative Group.
Years ago, it had gone to 30,000 before the rest of them even had come to 20,000. The others was like in the 15,000 category, and it was at 30 when this came up, you know. And now, the one that really gains speed right now, and I don't know the fascination with it, but I think it's going to hit 100,000 this in the next few months here, is the one about Ron Goldman that I have. But, you know, 6 years ago, that wasn't a popular clip from my documentary. So it's just a bunch of interesting stuff that goes with this thing. What I was going to say to you about Cochran is that once I found out that Cochran knew about these telephone records and he concealed the thing here, I started, well, why would he do that? Why wouldn't he? because if we deal with it from a racial standpoint, the first thing that white people will say, well, Johnny Cochran, he would never allow anything like that. Well, Johnny Cochran always became the shield that they could stand behind to be able to say, Johnny Cochran, he's not going to let that go down, Well,
let me just say this, because if Johnny Cochran really was, which he was at one time, man, he was the guy doing all the police brutality cases in L.A., but they must have got to him, because if he really was that guy, he never would have got a show on Court TV.
Well, Johnny Cochran, I had come to reason in my mind that the reason why Johnny Cochran did what he did, if he in fact did this, and that occurred a couple of years, some years ago. I was in Houston, Texas, to film my daughter's son at a basketball tournament, and I went to stay at my sister's apartment, and it was around my birthday in April. She says, well, I got a present for you. And she went and she pulled this book off the shelf, and she gave me this book. And the book is entitled Last Man Standing. And the book was written by the lawyer for Geronimo Pratt, Stuart Hanlon, and someone else. And when I got through reading that book, then it seemed to all fall into place in a certain way. That Johnny Cochran, you have to remember that Johnny Cochran was the third most powerful individual in the Los Angeles District Attorney's office for about 2 years. He was a prosecutor. He hired Hodgman. William Hodgman was actually the lead attorney in the O.J. Simpson case.
Right.
And he hired him and made him the head of the Special Investigations Division. And Johnny Cochran hired and gave Judge Ito his first job as a prosecutor, and hired him in the anti-gang strike force unit. And Vanderkamp, who had pleaded with Johnny Cochran to come inside the prosecutor's office. You're handling all of these police brutality cases, but if you want to change the system, you change it from the inside. Johnny sat down and counseled with his father, and his father told him, I think.
Did I lose you?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think I lost him. Good stuff, though, right? You listening to everything? Yeah, we lost you, man.
So once Johnny talked to his father, he decided to join Vanderkamp, and Vanderkamp, he had a shield that said, a gold shield that had the number 3 on it, which was the third most powerful individual behind the DA, and then the assistant chief of staff, who was the assistant DA, and then Johnny Cochran was the district attorney over personnel, hiring, and so forth, and making policies and all of that kind of stuff. So Johnny Cochran, Vanderkamp assigned Gil Garcetti, to be Johnny Cochran's adjutant. So Johnny Cochran was over Gil Garcetti. Johnny Cochran hired the lead prosecutor in the Simpson trial, Hodgman, and Johnny Cochran hired the judge, Judge Ito, to his first job as a prosecutor.
Right. Let me interrupt for a second, because Hodgman. Now, why did Hodgman leave the case? He was going to prosecute the case.
My feeling is that I think if Hodgman was pressed against the wall, because I remember Hodgman, when the federal judge made us go back to the state court to make them put those telephone records back in the case file, and they said, Now, if this Judge Fiddler doesn't put the telephone records back in the file, then you come back to federal court. Okay. And that was in 2000. So the day that we go to court, here's Hodgman. Hodgman is standing in an indention in the wall of on the 12th floor where we were getting ready to go in. They hadn't called, the bailiffs hadn't called us in yet. So people were milling about out in the hall. And I guess we had about 50 or 60 people who had come downtown with our people, and they were black, white, Hispanic, a lot of people, And so in the midst of all these people standing outside, I see Hodgman, and Hodgman is looking over the group, the trained people for defense. And he had the people in the houses that they were in digging trenches and filling them with sandbags, because he said if they start firing in here, you're going to need that. You're going to need that,
right.
Those type of layers of protection like we would have in the trenches in Vietnam.
Well, Thomas, let me ask you something, because I'm very familiar with COINTELPRO. I was a target of COINTELPRO back in the 70s and 80s in New York City when I was a yippie with in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. But now my question to you is that how could Cochran justify creating this big racist Othello Shakespeare play like you describe it just to release Geronimo Pratt?
Well, Cochran never. I've always said that Cochran never saw the O.J. Simpson case as being the major case in his life. Cochran, if you read his autobiographies, you get a sense that the psychological impact of his association and his naivety in handling Geronimo Pratt case was the most significant case in his life, because Geronimo, he represented Geronimo Pratt at the time that Geronimo Pratt was about to be found guilty of these trumped up charges. Geronimo Pratt was up in the San Francisco Bay Area. He had been called up there by Huey P. Newton and them to a central committee meeting when a murder was taking place 400 miles south in Santa Monica. And they blamed, they got informants and so forth, because that's what COINTELPRO was made up of, was getting informants and so forth to say this and say that and put the finger on you. So they got informants. They cleaned one of them up that's still living out there today as a deacon in the big black Methodist church in Los Angeles. But he was the main one that they cleaned up, and he pulled him back off the street and then uplifted his previous title, which I think he had gotten fired as a deputy sheriff, and had him trump up charges against Geronimo Pratt. But the reason they know that Geronimo Pratt didn't do it is that the feds was following Geronimo Pratt, and the feds was filming or photographing Geronimo Pratt when he got off the plane in San Francisco, and he was in and out of the meetings and so forth in the Bay Area. So all the time that this murder was taking place down in Santa Monica, he was up in the Oakland Bay Area, and the FBI had him under photo surveillance. But when they brought him to trial, all of that information was suppressed. And all of these people from the sheriff's department, the FBI, the LAPD, all of them got on the witness stand and they lied. And what has been a psychological burden for Cochran is that Geronimo Pratt told him before he was going to be found guilty that Cochran, you don't understand the significance of this. I'm not going to get out of this. And Cochran couldn't fathom that. because he was a young attorney, and just from a common sense standpoint, it did not make sense to him. He said, no, if we have the evidence that you're innocent, you're going to walk. And he says, Cochran, no, I'm not going to walk. He says, you don't understand. And I think that Cochran has been carrying this burden for 25 years. Not only that this man was sentenced to prison, and then the feds put something in his jacket when he went to San Quentin, where they had set him up to be killed in isolation up there, and he survived that type of stuff to the extent that the other prisoners came to respect him as time went on, and so did some of the guards. But he was still sentenced to life without parole. And he did, after Mandela came out of prison, it was noted that Geronimo Pratt was the longest political prisoner held in incarceration, at that point in time.
See, Thomas,
So,
I appreciate all this, but it seems to me that Cochran, because I know that he was a civil rights guy and he was protecting and defending people against police brutality and stuff like that. But if he saw this overwhelming hammer come down on Pratt, and then he saw the carrot on the other end, hey, I can be on court TV and I can sell these books and do all this kind of stuff like that. Wouldn't that be his motivation?
No, I don't think so. I don't think Johnny Cochran was motivated by being on television or anything like that. Johnny Cochran, if you read the book Last Man Standing, after the 30-year mark, I think that Geronimo Pratt had been down now close to 30 years. It was coming up on the 29th year or 30th year, something like that. And it was the last straw. His attorney is admitting that this is the only person that I've ever represented in my career. It's been Geronimo Pratt. Now, my wife is dying of terminal cancer, and Pratt and I are at each other's throat. And we're at each other's throat because inherently we know that this is the last go-round. But Cochran comes into the picture and in the description in Last Man Standing, and he doesn't have this same dire feeling. And why wouldn't you have, if you put all of the appellate arguments on the table and these people keep ignoring them, you put the best arguments on the table that these people set on top of exculpatory evidence that would have exonerated this guy from ever having committed these crimes. Why hadn't that been effective to get this guy out of prison? So Cochran, I get the feeling that he did not have that same dour feeling that both Pratt and his attorney had, Stuart Hanlon. And the only way that I can explain that is because Johnny Cochran had a hammer that the other two didn't have and didn't know that he had.
And the hammer was selling out OJ?
I'm talking about OJ. I'm saying to you that if Cochran knew that these telephone records that he was agreed to keep secret could have exonerated Simpson, Cochran was in a position to say, well, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm going to leak this bullshit out into the public. And since the OJ case has been the most publicized case ever, televised on satellite around the world,
Trial of the century.
How is it going to sound now if Johnny Cochran is willing to libel himself, but admit as well that you people were involved in framing Simpson? And I think that that's where Johnny Cochran was mentally at that particular point in time. I don't think that Johnny Cochran was already a millionaire. He already owned the Rolls Royce. He lived in the finest area. But when you read the excerpts in his book, why do you continue to talk about Geronimo Pratt in both of the books that you've written? You've written two books, Journey to Justice, and then this other book that he's written, A Lawyer's Life. And why is it that in your books that Geronimo Pratt is a significant theme? And the only thing that that's saying to me is that he's a significant part of your life because he's in your psyche, because you believe that you let him down and you are pissed off with the system and the way that they handle this thing. Johnny Cochran was able to get that case kicked out of L.A. County. He made a slick move by going into a National Law Review magazine or periodical, and he made remarks about the former prosecutor of Geronimo Pratt, I think his name was Calustian, who had now become a judge. And Johnny just lambasted him in this National Law Review. And the chief judge of L.A. County said, well, you know, this was a despicable thing that you did, Cochran, to come out and publicly denounce this judge and so forth, and this esteemed judge and all of this kind of stuff. So I'm going to recuse all of the judges in L.A. County. None of them can hear this case.
Oh, wow.
I said, wow, look at that. So Stuart Hanlon, he says, man, I'm pissed off because we're about to go to trial. We're about to hear this thing. We're about to put it on the burner for the last time. But I said, this was a shrewd move on the part of Cochran because all of the judges in L.A. are like bought and sold.
Right.
If you're not playing ball with the police union and so forth and kissing their behind, I've been told you will stay, if you get on the bench, you'll stay at the municipal court level. You won't graduate to superior court judge. Okay?
I agree.
Johnny Cochran he pulls this angle, and somehow or the other, which I think was already decided, that if you do this, I'll make a move that will recuse all of the judges, but we got to get this thing going so we can keep you from holding this threat over us about what we did in the Simpson trial in withholding evidence that was exculpatory that would have exonerated Simpson. And I think that was a real threat that Cochran held over their head. I think that even getting that case removed to Orange County may have been what Cochran was for, even though black folks will say Orange County is full of rednecks, racists. But the thing that I felt about people from Orange County when I listened to them, they have this perception that they can treat people fair. They don't want to believe, I'm engaged in any racist activity.
Right.
I'm going to show you I'm fair. Well, the judge that they got is supposedly a black lawyer who we know as well that practices out of Newport Beach. Is in the book Last Man Standing, and he was asked about this judge, and he says he's brutally fair. This ex-Marine, his name was Judge Dickey, and he reviewed the case. He reviewed all of the evidence and so forth in the case, and he was the judge in Orange County that after 29 years of being incarcerated, he was the one that set Geronimo Pratt free in 1998. And as soon as he came out of prison, it wasn't long after that Geronimo Pratt left the United States and went to Tanzania. He just died last year in Tanzania. But before he left to leave this country, Johnny Cochran had gotten an award of $2 million from Los Angeles County for participating in framing this guy, and got a $1 million settlement from the federal government for framing this guy. So he got him $3 million, and I'll bet you that Johnny Cochran didn't take a dime of it.
Wait,
because
Pratt got $3 million?
Huh?
Pratt got $3 million?
Yeah, he got $3 million.
I never heard that, and I'm very familiar with that story. I'd love to have you come back and we can do a whole show about the Geronimo Pratt story. And how come you never wrote a book about that?
It's in the book, man.
Which book?
Pursuit of Exhibit 35.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't read the whole giant thing. not in a week, man. I got bad eyesight.
I'm pleased that you went as far as you did, and I'm pleased that you gave us the type of promotion that you did as well. I think that if you have the committed listeners that you have, I think it'll have a catapulting effect on sales. Sales will pick up again.
Well, I hope so. Yeah. Well, we had tonight. We had 100,000 listeners tonight.
What did you say?
We had 100,000 listeners tonight.
You're kidding me.
Oh no! Yeah. And
how do you know you had 100,000 listeners?
Because we can see how. Well, I'm not supposed to say it, but we can see. I'll send you the thing. We can see how many people are connected to the server.
Really?
Through iTunes and all that kind of stuff like that. Plus, we're on FM, and all over.
I saw 5,000 on something you promoted, you with your stuff on it. Man, I've had on my mind. I said, okay, well, you got 5,000. That's a good start. With me, my stuff is out here. So whatever lift I get, whether it's 550, 500, 5,000, I'm cool with it, But man, for you to tell me 100,000?
Oh yeah.
Well, tell me this, man.
And that's the after show.
It's hard to judge yourself. How did it come off to you?
Okay, I think the after show is going a lot better than the actual show went. But I want to have you back though.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send you a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Tina Helmuth is writing an ongoing series of fact-fiction books that boldly takes on today's most heinous crimes, the abduction, sexual trafficking, and cannibalization of our children. Suffer the Little Children, The Wrath of the Father, and Unbreakable. Deeply researched and mixed with the supernatural, good versus evil makes these thrillers hard to put down, shining a light on the root cause of these crimes and introducing a spiritual solution. Justice will be served. Available at lulu.com in paperback or ebook.
Hey, check out our brand new sponsor, Dynamic Solutions 2. That's the number 2. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions, that's the number 2, OJSimpson.com or call 424-888-2820. 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position, Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions. 424-888-2820. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. You get a 10% discount.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, I think the after show is going a lot better than the actual show went. But I want to have you back, though. And I think we can do a bunch of OJ shows. I got my own theories about OJ too. I want to talk to you about. And I think it's a great show, man. I think the after show is great. I think there's a lot of great information out there.
Well, let me. You say that I can pull it down and listen to it MP3 on the MP3, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna do that and see what it sounded like. I think this is the first interview that I've done in about 20 years, and that whatever other interview I did, it didn't have anything to do with O.J. Simpson. So it's been some time, and I could not, I couldn't pace myself in terms of, okay, what should be said and what shouldn't be said. Can I move along faster and all that kind of stuff,
Okay.
But
no, I got you, man. Listen, we can do more. I want to have you back. You're an encyclopedia on OJ. Like I said, I got my own theories on OJ. I know a lot of stuff about OJ. I want to write my own book about OJ.
Okay.
Yeah, and I met a lot of people. I met Dr. Henry Lee and Cato Kalin, and I talked to Christy Prody. Yeah.
I think Henry Lee is a fraud between me and you.
Okay. We'll talk about that.
I mean, I'm going to tell you why I say that. Because when we looked at the photographs of the murder site, you can see the footprints that go from the front to the back. They're marked off with letters, little placards, the police. If you look closely, you will see that the U2887, they call them the Bruno O'Malley shoe prints, but they're not. There was no way the FBI could tell you that there were Bruno O'Malley shoes. They could have been 19 other shoe brands sold around the world, because the same shoe sole that was sold to Bruno O'Malley was sold to 19 companies. And the shoe mold that produces the shoe sole produces a heel, and it's a raised heel, even though it's a rubber sole. And because of that raised heel, the logo is right in front of the heel, like in a lot of shoes, and before the forefoot. So the logo is raised off to the ground. It doesn't touch the ground. And so if it doesn't touch the ground, you won't see the Bruno O'Malley label. So if Silga sold that same shoe sole to 7 to 19 other companies, how was the FBI able to determine that it was in fact a Bruno O'Malley shoe sole? So
let me ask you this, because your theory is that there were two stabbers, right? There were two killers. Was there a second set of shoe prints in that blood?
Well, that's the allegation of Dr. Lee. And that was another allegation, but the ones that are clear, that have the Silga imprint, are the ones that are along the sidewalk that are clear. And what we saw is that the sidewalk is made up of square tiles. So once I was able to see that they're made up of square tiles, I looked for a footprint that fell in between the tiles,
Right.
Either it started at the bottom and it went to the top, and we found one. And so we said, okay, well, look at this shoe sole. It fits neatly inside this sidewalk tile. Now we got to find out, we got a graphic scale. Now we got to find out the dimensions of it. So it took me about 3 months using the Dutchman's site, plugging in the information, trying to find it, trying to plug in all types of information that would bring us back to dimensions of shoe tiles, and bam, finally, after about 90 days, I hit it. And here it is, Detective Tom Lang on the witness stand being asked by Judge Ito, did anybody measure those sidewalk tiles? Now, why would the dumb judge ask him that? But he asked him that. And Tom Lang says yes. What were the dimensions? They were 11.5 by 11.5 inches square. Man, when I heard that, I'm telling you, man, my heart just about leaped from my chest, man. I said, if these tiles are 11.5 inches square, and this shoe sole that we see fits almost neatly inside that tile, ain't no way in the world that Simpson's foot could have been in that shoe. My foot, I'm 5'9". My foot is longer than 11.5 inches. Okay? My shoe is longer than 11.5 inches. Let me put it like that. My shoes are like 12 and a quarter inches in length.
And OJ's like a size 13, correct?
Right. Now, the FBI was trying to put him in a size 12 because this size 46 silver sole made in Italy was the equivalent, he says, of a size 12. But when people play that game with you about sizes, you get caught up in subjective nonsense. Because if I ask you the specific dimensions of a size 12, or if I ask you the specific dimensions of your own shoe, you couldn't tell me accurately what's the length of your shoe. What size shoe do you wear?
10.5.
How many inches is a size 10.5?
No idea, but it's not 10.5 inches. I know that.
All right.
Yeah.
So the key thing that you said, you don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. But people assume that they know something when someone says that's a size 12. What they assume that they know, that's a pretty large size. That's what's going on in their head.
Yeah.
But if they don't know specifically the specific dimensions of the shoe length itself and the length of the person's naked foot, then what do they really know? I can tell you this. When the first thing we said, we got to have a copy of that silver shoe sole. So I had to use a translator, and I sent the Google translation over to Silga, and I got it wrong the first time. The word came back for shoe sole was patina, but patina meant ice skate. So the people say, well, we don't sell patina. We don't sell no patina. So when I put that in, I said, oh, here these people are part of this conspiracy too. And then I said, well, wait a minute, let me just translate what they're saying. So I put it back in the translator, and it comes back, patina means girls' ice skates. I said, oh, well, slow down. I said, now, instead of translating English directly to Italian, translate it to French, because you understand French, and then use the French to go to Italian. And I did it that way, and that worked out. So now I got the general manager pushing the salesman aside, thinking that I'm a big time shoe sole buyer because I'm able to cite this specific shoe sole mold, the U2887 sole. So I must want to buy 1 million of these shoe soles. So I said, well, we're thinking about it. So send the samples that you have from the U2887 shoe sole. So he sends me all of the samples, okay, from the U2887 mold. So I've got the size 12 and the size 13. The FBI places it at the size 12. The size 12 is 12 and a quarter inches. And I put my shoe, which is a 10.5, on top of that shoe sole, okay, 12 and a quarter inches. OJ's foot, we have the retired nurse, Irma Reed, who was always at one of OJ's houses. Now she was down in Miami. I called her up in Miami, and I said, Irma, I want you to go, and I want you to measure Simpson's bare foot, and then come back to me and tell me what it is. So she came back to me the next day, and she said, I measured his foot. His foot comes in at about 12 and 7/8 inches. 12 and 7/8 inches, 12 and a quarter inches, 12 and 2/8 inches. Simpson's foot is 5/8, almost 3/4 of an inch longer than the actual shoe sole.
Wow.
Okay. So that's the kind of stuff that we do, man.
Then
Okay?
I can see. But what do you think then? Then the civil attorney sold him out too?
Yes. You mean the civil attorneys in the actual criminal trial?
No, in the civil trial.
No, I'm saying the civil trial in California after the murder trial.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sold him out. But if you read the transcripts, it's almost like they knew what was coming. You know,
Yeah.
If you read the transcripts and you read in between the lines, see, we sat down with them, Baker and Baker. We sat down with Baker and Baker. That's who represented him in the civil trial before we established OMIG, the Ocean Medical Investigator Group.
Okay.
My brother was just trying to be Dudley Do-Right, and one of his patients was Bob McNeil, the attorney who used to appear on Geraldo's program every other night when it was on CNBC. So Bob McNeil arranged the meeting for my brother with Simpson civil attorneys.
Wait, is that Bob McNeil from McNeil Lira Report?
No. This is a black lawyer.
Okay.
In fact, his brother played pro football with the Minnesota Vikings. His name was McNeil as well, but no, his name is Bob McNeil. Kind of about 6 feet, kind of thick guy, not fat, but just kind of heavy set guy, and nice looking fellow. But he was a patient of my brother's for several years, and he arranged a meeting for us, and we met for lunch in Santa Monica. I just flown into California. My brother says, I want you to come along to this luncheon meeting. I just want you to tell me what you think. We had the meeting. My brother, Bob, you remember Blazier, the lawyer, Bob Blazier, that was in the criminal trial, sitting in there with F. Lee Bailey and Shapiro and them, and he went on to be on the team, on the civil trial team too.
Okay.
Bob Blazier. And so we met with Blazier, we met with Baker, and we met with Baker's son. Those were the lawyers representing Simpson in the civil trial. And when we met with them in the last of December 1996, and Bob McNeil was there, and my brother wrote up his reports and so forth, described the knife thrust, the knife exit wounds, et cetera, et cetera. There were multiple assailants involved. At least 2 people were involved in the murders of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. My brother asked me when his driver came around and picked us up, and we got in, and we were heading back to his office. He says, well, what do you think? I said, first of all, they give me this pipe and slippers type of legal image. You know, they're laid back. And I said, I don't see them doing a whole lot in this case with this laid back type of persona. I said, now you're pretty strong. You come across pretty strong, pretty aggressive. And I don't think that they want to have another Johnny Cochran, whether it's a medical doctor or whatever. So I don't see you and them matching up, even though they've been affable fellows and everything, and we had a nice lunch and all of that kind of stuff, okay? When it came time to testify, they did not call my brother. They called Dr. Bodden back again. And Dr. Bodden went on the witness stand, and he started to give the position that my brother had brought to them, that there was more than one person involved in the murder of these 2 people. But before the day was out, under cross-examination, the the opposing attorney backed him down off of that. And that really upset my brother. But I had told him, I said, these individuals right now, it's like the die has been cast that they're going to have to balance the karma in this nation. They're going to have to give white folks a pound of flesh. And they're going to give it to them in this civil trial. I said, so whatever it is that you want to do, you're going to have to establish an independent platform for you to be able to operate from. And that's began to be the seeds of OMEG. But before that even occurred, what I told him, I said, you have the right to file an amicus curiae brief. And my brother said, I do. I said, yeah. I said, put your findings together and, file it and have it served on Judge Fujisaki. And so that's what he did. And if you read the court transcript of the case of the civil trial, it tells you when the people came in and served the judge with the papers that he was being served, that my brother was requesting to be brought in to testify. And you read in the transcript where Baker says, we would like for him to come in and testify. And then you read also where Petrocelli is saying, and he's a ignorant acting toad. I really don't have a lot of respect for him. I think he's overblown in the media, and he's a two-faced type of guy too. But he's always making some little snide remarks, and I remember his snide remark in that, well, if he comes in, you're gonna pay for him, something silly, something that didn't even need to be said, But if you a lot of stuff that involves Petrocelli, he's always got something like that to say. And as far as the etiquette of litigation, he leaves a lot to be desired,
Well, he went on TV and said that he was going to produce the call records.
There as well, you see.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm saying to you.
Oh, we'll produce them tomorrow. We'll give them to you tomorrow.
That's why
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying to you, Ed, I'm not against what we want to do as far as the Las Vegas thing. I just want to be on top of it, okay? Just like we was on top of, we knew Petrocelli was going to tell that lie, okay? We knew he was going to tell that lie. The records those records that they ultimately had to provide came from Lou Brown. And Lou Brown, I had been on the phone with Lou Brown. I just cold called Lou Brown because when the case got kicked back, when we tried to get the telephone records out of Texas, finally the telephone company in Texas, they just came out and admitted. They said, listen, California GTE is a wholly owned subsidiary, but they represent 20% of our business, and we don't want to shake things up with them. Now, we know that we don't have the same laws in Texas, and we could honor this subpoena, but they are politely requesting that we allow them to handle it out in the state of California. I said, if you do that to us, you're dooming us, because California has these stringent privacy laws that not only do you have to get a court order, you have to get the permission of the person whose utility records that you're seeking, which doesn't make sense. You wouldn't have to if the person resists, you should just be able to get the court order. But that's how the California public utility law is written.
Well, let me ask you a question, because back in those days, you could buy those kind of records on websites on the internet, and it was freely available to private investigators. Everybody had sources that could get those records. Did you ever try to do it that way?
Yeah. Nobody, man. We had people who worked for GTE.
Yeah.
that couldn't believe that one woman, that was her job. You know, we had an Italian woman who was the girlfriend of a biker that my brother was one of my brother's patients. So the biker, he was a Hell's Angel or whatever he was. You know, he came to the office and he would see all of this stuff about O.J. Simpson on the wall in my brother's office. And my brother, you saw the front page of my brother's book, the Constitutional Disaster, or Simpson's Constitutional Disaster.
Yeah.
He has that kind of stuff in his office. So the biker says, you know, this when he gets through talking, this is some hell of a thing. I'm going to bring my lady in here because she believes that O.J. Simpson is guilty. So he brings his woman to the office, and then she's talking to Dr. Johnson and so forth. And she said, you know what, you kind of twisted me, but I got a friend who works for GTE. I'm going to see if she can access those telephone records. So she calls her friend, and her friend says, yeah, I can look at those records. That's what I do. I've been doing that for 28 years, looking up records, and I've been able to find my record going back 20 years. So they can't say that they can't get that record. So she says, well, it would really be helpful if you could access that record. So she says, okay, I'll get back to you. So the woman attempts to access the record, and the record, when she goes into the site, it triggers silent alarms that would be triggered if you was trying to look at information on the president of the United States or the vice president. It's got that type of protective alarms on it. Yeah. And that's the third time that, in fact, it's the fourth time that I heard it, because I had a Navy intelligence guy that wanted to try it for me out in Newark, New Jersey. He told me the same thing. The guy, I had a friend in Minneapolis who his thing is hacking, and he said he went in there and tried to find it, and he said, no, man. He said, that signal, we know that signal. He said, you got, I don't know how many seconds, you got to shut it down. You got to shut it down and get out of there, because the FBI is coming, you know. And then that was 2 times. Then I had a guy that was on the police department that worked in the 911 section. He says, man, they got these type of alarms around that site. And then we got the woman herself. And the woman herself was visited the next day by the FBI and was being asked, what were you doing trying to go to that site? And then when she got to the office, she was nervous, and she was called into the corporate security office, and they told her, you know, we're going to set you off with pay to let you think about it. Said, but if you ever do that again, we will fire you. So the woman called her Italian girlfriend and tells her, if you ever ask me to do something like that, our friendship is done. And she didn't talk to that woman for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, when a phone company employee tries to do that, access those kind of records, a warning comes up saying this could be a crime. I know the flag you're talking about when you try and flag a celebrity or the president or the vice president, because the flag will come up. You can't get it. But I've actually I investigated Todd Palin and Sarah Palin. We had litigation, and we were able to get all those kind of records. If you have a legitimate purpose to do it, you have to show, they have a legitimate purpose.
And now a word from our sponsors, emailrevealer.com. People ask me all the time, hey, Ed, are you still a private investigator? I sure am. Go to emailrevealer.com. We handle adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, where you give us your spouse's email address. We trace it back to online dating websites, catch them cheating online. Email tracing, locate or identify somebody from as little as an anonymous email address. Someone owe you money? Back child support? We can find that deadbeat. Locate his hidden assets. Locate his hidden bank accounts. Find his current place of employment and even assist you in obtaining a judgment and recover that judgment for you. Emailrevealer.com, digital forensics, computer forensics, cell phone forensics, recover deleted text messages, create a report that you can use in court. Emailrevealer.com, 800-572-9762.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions2, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions.
Hey, you, podcast listener, this is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson, and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, All we are offering is the truth, nothing more.